Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I am bringing you sort of a quick update to my Rikka deck as well as a whole bunch of combos. That way you guys can understand how this deck rolls. So I did get asked a while ago to do a combo tutorial on this, and so I never got up to that right away, but now the video is up to like 2,500 views, so I figured it would be about time to do this. So overall, I really like this deck. We just got a new card in the Rikka Queen Strena, which just came out in Rise of the Duelist, which really helps you to turbo into more of your plant rank 5 or higher XZ monsters. So this is just a really simple, very, very simple control deck. The waifu tax on this deck is not too high. These cards are not overly expensive, but it is like a really beautiful deck. Overall, like the cards and stuff in here are just really, really sweet. They're nice. So I will go ahead and do probably 2 combos for you guys, and then I will just, at the end of the video, go on into a full deck profile, or just like a really quick flash deck profile. That way you guys can get a better understanding of the full deck, because really this hasn't changed up too much since June, and really the main deck does not need much tweaking. It's really just stuff in the extra deck, wherever you want to add in more of the Sylvan monsters to take advantage of your Strana. But anyways, let's get on into the combos. Also, guys, if you were one of those 2,500 viewers, or if you're new to this channel and just watching this for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it, because doing these deck profiles and combo videos is a lot of fun, but we are getting dangerously close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys enjoy these deck profiles and videos to please consider hitting that subscribe button, just to help me to further expand the channel for other people to see and just for the channel to go further. So really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Now let's get on into those combos. Okay guys, so overall this combo session is going to be like pretty casual and whatnot, so I just sort of want to go over how the deck flows. That way you guys can see how to actually run the deck, because it can get a little bit awkward. Probably the biggest mistake that I ever found out was, like, I would always try to, if I had 2 monsters on board, I would always try to go into Jasmine right away, and then I would have all this stuff in my hand, but I would have no monsters on the field to tribute in order to, like, get stuff into the zones for Jasmine to point to. So that's always, like, the biggest thing, is that you want to get your field a little bit established and then go on into your Link and XZ plays. So that's just sort of like a big thing to get. So we'll just pick up our opening hand here. So we will start off with a 1-for-1 and a Rikka Petal, which is actually pretty good. So that means that we can set up our graveyard a little bit with the Rikka Petal. With 1-for-1, I think we're just going to hold on to that for a hot minute. So we will activate the Rikka Petals effect, and then we will have Petal go ahead and add, what do we have? We have a Flurries right there. So I think we're going to add Mudan into our hand, and then we will use Mudan to tribute our Rikka Petal in order to special summon it to the field. Then with the Mudan, we will be able to add a Rikka Glamour into our hand. So since we're doing that, we will probably just activate the Rikka Glamour, and we're also going to, we're not going to tribute a monster. Again, you want to make sure that you're keeping your field advantage while you can. So with the Rikka Glamour, we're just going to add, we got to add someone who can do a little bit of graveyard work. So we're going to add the Erica, because with Erica, when she is in the graveyard, if a plant monster you control is tributed, you can special summon her. She just gets banished afterwards. So with that, we will activate 1-for-1 and then just send the Erica into the graveyard. 1-for-1 will then special summon out our Evil Thorn, and this is why you need to be playing Evil Thorns in the deck. So we will just tribute off that first copy of Evil Thorn, which will then burn our opponent for 300 damage, which is just a really nice little perk, because it works perfectly with our Link monster, the Aromatherapy Jasmine. So speaking of which, we are going to take these 2 cards here, and we'll go into Aromatherapy Jasmine. You want to make sure that you're leaving Jasmine pointing to somebody, so that's also just another big thing to keep in mind. So with that first Evil Thorn effect, which burned our opponent for 300 damage, that now means that Aromatherapy Jasmine's effect should be live, because If your life points are higher than your opponent's, then this card and any plant monster that it points to can't be destroyed by battle. So just right there, that gives you like serious battle protection. Means that all you have to worry from now is just like card effect damage that your opponent's going to try to hit you with. So that's just really nice. We'll then activate Jasmine's effect and tribute this Evil Thorn in order to special summon a monster from the deck. So we will special summon our Snowdrop directly from the deck. And then since a monster was tributed, that means that we can activate the Rikka Fairies effect and special summon it to the field. I believe it special summons in defense mode. Doesn't really matter. So we'll just put it onto the field, and then we're just going to activate the Snowdrop's effect, which is going to make all plant monsters on the field the same level. So that means that we are going to turn them all into level 8s. And then we can just go ahead and overlay right there into our teardrop. So this means that all of our monsters here can't be destroyed by battle. We still have pretty decent attack. Then as a quick effect, since we have plant material on our teardrop, we can tribute one monster that our opponent controls. So that effect does target, but still it is just tributing, so it's non-destruction. And then along with that, we can activate, on our opponent's turn, we can use Rikka Sheet and Rikka Tranquility, as well as Rikka Flurries. So if a Rikka monster we control is tributed, we can make our opponent tribute another monster, and that effect there does not target. So our Rikka Sheet and Tranquility both allow us to tribute plant monsters. So we can just go ahead and keep those face down on our field, and then that means that our opponent is going to have to play through all these disruptions. So overall, it's not like as intimidating as a board as like certain other control decks can put up, like your Altergeist and whatnot, but it is still just like a fun, simple deck that can do just like, you know, pretty simple negates and whatnot. And so now I'm going to try to get into a combo where I focus on getting out the Rikka Queen Strenna. Okay guys, so for this last combo, I'm going to try to focus on, of course, getting out the new card, the Rikka Queen Strenna, just sort of showing the capabilities of what this card can do. So again, what this card can do is that it can get a plant monster back from our graveyard, or any Rikka card, and then also when this card gets tributed, as long as it has XZ material on it, you can special summon a rank 5 or higher plant XZ monster from your extra deck or graveyard, and then attach this to it as material. So I think that's really nice for the Sylvan monsters. I don't have the full setup of all of these Sylvans, so please excuse me there. I was not playing them in my original build, but now that's definitely something that I need to get ordered yet for the rest of this deck, but it still definitely works with what we've got here. So basically any of these cards are all options to go into with our Strenna. So we will just focus on that. And then of course getting out the Aromaseraphie Jasmine. You always want this on the field to be pointing to something. So mainly the two cards that we want for this combo are to have our Mudon in our hand, and then also Snowdrop is going to help us to go into other stuff. And then I'm just going to pull out a Lone Fire Blossom as well, and then we will just, we'll leave that card random yet, but mainly I really want to focus on getting a Mudon into hand. That is a big part of how we will be able to get into that, the Strenna, and actually use it to good effect. So, and I will get into that in a minute. So we will pick up the rest of our random draw. So, okay, so we got a Lone Fire Blossom, Evil Thorn, and a Mudon. So right there, I'm pretty happy with that. I guess we don't really need two Mudons, but overall, this is a pretty good opening hand. So we could start with the Lone Fire Blossom, but I'm thinking I always like starting off with that Evil Thorn because it's just so good. So we'll activate Evil Thorn's effect, Tribute, and special summon the other two copies from the deck. It's just like the most simple extender that you can possibly have for this deck. Really, really nice. Then with that, we will go ahead and activate the Snowdrop's effect. So with Snowdrop, we will tribute a plant monster, special summon this, and another plant monster from our hand. So then we get locked into plant monsters, but it's still nice that we can use this Lone Fire Blossom. That way we can get out whatever we want onto the field. So then we will activate Lone Fire Blossom, tribute that, and then we will go ahead and special summon. I'm not sure if we want to get out the Primula or if we just want to go ahead and I think that with that we're going to pick up the Rikka Petal, and then with Petal we will add the Primula into hand, so that way when we activate a tributing effect, then we can just special summon Primula right to the field. So Primula is just big because it's going to be our level 4 that helps us to extend. So from here I think we're just going to take these, well, we don't want to quite do that yet, so we will actually tribute this Rikka Petal and special summon Mudan onto the field, then use Mudan's effect, since it's special summoned by its own effect, to add a, not Rikka Flurries, not Rikka Glamour, we want Rikka Sheet onto our field. And so the big reason why we want Mudan for this combo is because then Rikka Sheet is going to allow us to tribute a plant monster on the field in order to steal one of our opponent's monsters for the turn. Its effects are negated, but again, you just get to basically change of heart on your opponent for one turn. And then since your Strena is going to be tributed, then that means that you can go and go on up into like your Araya. So with that, we will just take probably, and also our, with that, in that chain link, since our Petal was tributed, we want to special summon our Primula onto the field. We'll then use Snowdrop's effect, and then target the Primula, and then that's going to make all of our monsters level 4s on the field. So then we will take these two here, and we will go into our Aromatherapy Jasmine. And then we can take these two here, and then we will go into our Rikka Queen Strena. So the only way that this combo could have really gone better is if we wouldn't have drawn into our second copy of Mudan. I would probably prefer that either be Hellebore or our Erica, just for a little bit of protection. Probably the Hellebore, because that's a little more for, that makes it so that our monster can't get targeted, so that would just be nice for that. But besides that, again, like I said, we're going to, at the end phase, set our Rikka Sheet, which is going to allow us to have some protection. We can also use our Strena on this turn, detach material in order to send the Primula to the graveyard, and then that's just going to, we can just pop back the Primula into our hand. Or again, if like one of those monsters like Hellebore or Erica was set up, we go ahead and set that up. And then also with the Rikka Petal, during our opponent's end phase, when this is in the graveyard, we're going to be able to bring that back. So overall, our board is pretty well set up. The Petal just really helps you to come back in the game if this board gets blown up, because overall this is not an impenetrable board. So if your opponent is able to get around it, then that means that your Petal is going to come back. Then you can go ahead and get off that other search during your main phase. So overall, this is a pretty decent board. That means that, again, we can either use Jasmine to even tribute this on our turn. So say on our turn still we want to use Jasmine, we will tribute this Strena, then that will allow us to special summon any of these Rikka monsters from the deck. So we could just special summon this Hellebore from the deck, which again, when it's face up on the field, you can tribute it to stop your opponent from targeting something. Then with that Strena getting tributed, that means that it's going to be able to go on as material for anything else. So again, we can go into this Aurea, or we could go into like a Teardrop if we want to tribute our opponent's other monsters. So, and again, you can go on into any of the other Sylvans that are rank 5 or higher. So overall, guys, that's going to do it for the combos. I'm going to now really quickly just go over the deck. That way you guys can just see what's all in this deck. That way it all makes more sense to you. If you guys don't know how the Rikka deck works, so I kind of switch back and forth between calling them Rikkas and Rikkas, but so the Rikkas, the way that they work is that a lot of the increments of the monsters you play is that you have 3 copies of one of the level, like level 8 here, we have 3 copies of Snowdrop, and then you play 3 copies of, or 1 copy of the Hellebore, so that's just sort of how it works. So, and then you go into 3 copies of Mudon, 1 copy of Rikka, the Rikka fairy. So basically, this card is a really great extender from hand. This is another extender from hand, and then these 2 cards kind of work as like, in a way, like hand traps, and also like while they're on the field, they do like battle disruption or card effect disruption. So then we go on into Primula, which is another great extender, and then the Cyclamen. So basically your 3-ofs are all of your extenders, and then like the 1-ofs are just like your accents for the deck. And then there is no other level 1 monster, but we are playing 3 copies of the level 1 Rikka Petal. This is basically like your best extender in the deck, because it can, or not really an extender, it's your searcher for the deck, and it picks up a card for you every single turn, because as long as you have no monsters or just plant monsters on the field, this card can special summon back from the graveyard, and then it gets you a Rikka search, so that's really nice. Then we're going to go on into some non-Rikka cards. Lone Fire Blossom, best like searcher for the deck because it just special summons right to the field. Evil Thorn, which is another great extender. You start with 1 Evil Thorn, and then you just turn that into 2 and burn your opponent for 300 damage, which becomes important when it comes to your Link monster, Aromaseraphy Jasmine, because as long as your life points are higher than your opponent's, then that means that your plant monsters that this points to can't be destroyed by battle, as well as this card. So it's really nice. You just use Evil Thorn, tribute it, then you get these 2, link these 2 into Aromaseraphy Jasmine, and then whatever you put below Jasmine is going to have protection. Then 1 copy of Spore. This still hasn't changed from my last deck profile. It can be used really gimmicky to get out your Aurea, the Sylvan High Arbiter, but now you can just go ahead and use your new Rikka Queen Strina to do that anyways. But yeah, I still like keeping the 1 copy of Spore in the main deck. Then we're just going to go on into 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 3 copies of Rikka Glamour. This card is really great. The biggest tip that I can give to anyone who's trying to play this deck is that Rikka Glamour can kind of seem a little bit tempting. So what this card does is that you can tribute a plant monster, and then you add 2 monsters that have like the same level. So you tribute a monster, and then that allows you to add the level 4 and then the other level 4, or the 6 and the other 6, or the 8 and the other 8. But if you don't want to tribute a monster to activate this card, then you can just go ahead and search 1 monster off that effect. So just one big tip is that with Rikka Glamour, you need to make sure that you have enough resources on board, because otherwise there's a lot of times you can kind of get ahead of yourself, activate the Rikka Glamour, tribute a monster on your field just so you can get 2 cards off of this, and then it turns out that you don't actually have enough resources on field to keep extending, which is a problem that like I used to get into a lot of the time when I was starting with this deck. So 1 copy of Rikka Flurries, 3 Called by the Grave, 2 copies of Super Solar Nutrient, and then 1-for-1 Foolish Burial, which works really nice in this deck. Helps you to set up either like your Rikka, your Hellebore, or your Rikka Petal. 1 Monster Reborn, just because it's a good generic card. 2 copies of Rikka Sheet, and then 1 copy of Rikka Tranquility. These cards are searchable by your Mudon, and they don't really get you too much advantage, but they are nice little disruptions with the Rikka Sheet, and Tranquility is like another Monster Reborn, so they're searchable, so it's nice to just keep them in the deck. But other than that, I still haven't really put any of the newer support in here. There's not really any room for stuff like triple tactical talents and stuff like that. So I'm just sort of keeping all that stuff out, keeping it simple, and so far I have not changed out the deck profile to like focus on getting out the Rikka Queen Strina, but so we are playing 2 copies of the Strina. So what this card does is that it requires 2 level 4 monsters. Then when it's on the field, you can detach material to add a plant monster or a Rikka card from your graveyard to your hand, which is really nice. And then, like I said, when this card is tributed, you can just attach this underneath another plant XZ monster as its material. And so like it just helps you to get out basically any XZ plant that you want. So besides that, we're playing the 2 Kanzashi, the Rikka Queen. I don't go into her too much, but she is nice to have in the deck. And then 2 copies of Teardrop. Now that we have the rank 4, you're able to drop cards like the ship of corn or whatever. But yeah, black ship of corn. But yeah, so like I said, I haven't totally upgraded the Sylvan engine yet, but I just want to get this deck profile out. So we have the Aurea, the Sylvan High Arbiter, and then just one copy for now of the number 38 Hope Harbinger. It is just nice to negate your opponent going into spells and whatnot. Then, just since I'm still running a small synchro engine for the Spore, we're playing Splendid Rose and Stardust Dragon. Then going on into the links, we are of course playing 2 copies of the Aromaseraphy Jasmine. You got to be playing at least 2 copies of this in case your first one gets nuked. But it is just such a good card to have in here because it adds protection, and you contribute a plant monster that it points to in order to special summon another plant monster from the deck. So that can just really help synergize with the deck. Then going on into Link 1s, we have Link Rebo and Relinquished Anima, and then just Nightmare Phoenix to destroy spell cards because we don't have many ways to get rid of those otherwise.